Today about some of the services of the Career Center down at Clark Howell Hall. And some of you may have already used some of the services, some of you may not, but got a little simple handout. We're going to spend about a half hour or so just kind of talking about what we have to offer. My name is Kenny Hansing. I'm a 1971 graduate of Georgia. Taught high school, coached football for 5 years. I've been at the center for 28 years. And we do have quite a bit to offer all majors, not just business majors by any means, even though that's some of the thinking on campus. We're in Clark Howell Hall, which was a dorm when I was in school here many years ago. And while these pamphlets are being passed around, does anybody have an idea about what a starting salary, last year the average starting salary for all majors at the University of Georgia was? Any guesses? About $36,500 was the average starting salary for all majors at Georgia, undergraduate. There's some majors here on campus that start at $22 to $25. There's some that start at $42 to $47. So the $36,500 is a pretty broad range and that type of thing. Just general information for you, 67% of college graduates, when they graduate and start their professional career, do not stay without employed or 1 year. 7 out of 10 leave within their first year. Reason number 10 is inability to perform the job. Reason number 1 is inability to get along with coworkers. So it's very important that all of you get to know or join clubs, organizations, learn how to work with different kinds of people, different people you don't like, kinds of things where you can learn to deal with that flexibility, adaptability is very, very, very important. As an older person, one statistic that's kind of interesting to me, two statistics really. Today, the fastest growing population to file for bankruptcy is the age group 23 to 28. Some of you may know people, friends of yours, whatever, that have already filed for bankruptcy. So indebtedness is a major problem for a lot of young people today. So you might want to try to take care of that as best as you can. We'll talk a little bit about that later on. Also today they say that somewhere between 67 and 72% of the population 18 to 25 live at home. So some of you, when you graduate, may not be thinking of living at home. Some of you can't wait to get back home. In the last 4 or 5 years, I've worked with about 35 or 40 students that were told they cannot come back home when they graduate, that their parents paid for their car, their study abroad, or whatever, and that they will help them find an apartment, find a roommate, but that they cannot come back home. Usually, if you look at the AJC sometime in late April, early May, last year it was usually in the metro section of the AJC, you'll see advertisements. Last year it was usually Saturday and a half-day Sunday on seminars where parents could sign up. Last year was about $350 to sign up to go to a seminar on how to deal with your college graduate moving back home after they graduated and stuff like that, which is kind of interesting to someone like me. But anyway, that's just some general information I thought I'd throw out to you to get things started today. If you have the handout, if you look at the panel that says career consultants, all of us in the office are assigned to different colleges, and we are there to assist you, whatever your college is. For those of you, I don't know what's in the room today, but if you're a freshman or sophomore and you're not exactly sure yet what your major is going to be, or if you're thinking, if you know you have a major and you're not sure what concentration or emphasis or minor you want to add to your major, you might want to work with Nikki Smith. She's very, very good at helping you with that. But all of us are there to help you set up your resumes, cover letters, job search strategies, externships, internships, when to start looking for your full-time position, part-time jobs. All of that is with each individual consultant. You can call the main number at Clark Howell to make that appointment. You can email your consultant, whatever's easier for you. I've got students I've worked with for 3 or 4 years. I've never met them. They've sent me 30, 40 emails over that period of time. I've got some students, because I've been here so long, that they've graduated 6, 7, 8 years ago. They still stay in contact with me for general information. So you can use us for whatever you want to use us for, kind of thing. That's one of the blessings of having such a large career center. We are one of the largest career centers in America. You go to a lot of schools, and they have a director, an assistant director, and 1 or 2 consultants. We've got 23 people to help you out in whatever you wish to use us for. So take advantage of that if you wish to, of course, during your time at Georgia. If you look at the panel on the back that says, where's it? Career Center Resources. There's a black top on the back. Besides the individual counseling, as I said before, Nikki Smith does a super job with assessments. Now, most of you probably had some assessments in high school that led you to believe or think about what you want to major in college. Today, just to give you some historical perspective, there are a lot of companies that have a social consciousness, so when they're downsizing, they will assist you with assessments so you can learn what your skills are after you've been out of school 4, 5, 6 years. Generally, those back in the 80s, those assessments cost anywhere from $400 to $600. So when you can take them free at the university, take advantage of that cost savings and do that. Also, before I forget, we as an alumnus, you can use our services free for 2 years after you graduate. After you have to work through our Alumni Center in Atlanta, and that's $125 to meet the person the first time. So 2 years after graduation, for whatever reason, if you want to recontact us, you can certainly do so. We have a Career Center library where you can do a lot of research, reading about companies, what they're looking for in candidates, the kind of job that you'd be doing, the skill set that you would need. Take advantage of that. Again, 600 books in one location. We have 2 different career classes. I started teaching a class back in '83 called ECP 399 that has now changed over to ECHD 2050. It's a 2-hour class. It is designed for freshmen and sophomores to help you in your decision-making process for your major, that type of thing. They'll do assessments. They'll do mock interviews. They'll do informational interviews. You'll actually go visit some employers to try to determine what your interests are and that type of thing. Pretty easy class. The class I teach and some of the others teach is ECHD 3050. So that's a little bit more geared for juniors and seniors. We also work with resumes and cover letters. My class the last 6 or 7 years has turned into mostly seniors that are graduating and have to stay on their parents' insurance. So what I've been doing, I'll do a budget seminar. I've got a financial planner comes in and he does a little 1-hour deal on financial planning. I have a lady with a company in Atlanta comes up. She does a thing on benefits and cost benefits. So we kind of tailor make it for that transition for when you graduate and go into the real world of work. So those are 2 classes, 2 credit classes you might want to consider sometime before you graduate. Externships. Does anybody know what an externship is? Excellent. So they're kind of a new thing last 4, 5, 6 years. An externship, depending on the employer, can be a 1-day event, 2-day event, 1-week event where you actually go. The externships we have in our office are usually with Georgia graduates. You'll go for maybe a day or 2. You can shadow and see what that person does on a day-to-day basis and get a better understanding of how that person got in his or her position, what his degree was or her degree was, if they had a special programs or minors or those kinds of things, foreign languages, certain computer skills they should have. That's an excellent way to kind of, again, define what you want to major in, maybe even change your major kind of thing. An externship is not paid. There's no credit given. You have internships. How many of you have interned already? Excellent. Okay. So an internship usually is paid, not always, but usually. It's a credit condition also. And more companies today are looking for students with internships or 2 internships. And many times with today's economy, you are hired from the internship because they know what you can do and you know what they're about, type of thing. So if you have an intern, if you're a freshman or sophomore, I would strongly urge you to consider some type of internship before you graduate from Georgia. Also, as you well know, with Dr. Adams at Georgia, he set a goal by 2010 of having 25% of our student body study abroad. We've already reached that goal last year in 2007, so we'll go beyond that easily by the time 2010 comes around. So if any of you have an opportunity to study abroad, I would strongly urge you to do that. It's a phenomenal chance for you to travel and learn and that type of thing. So take advantage of that. Be thinking about the kind of skills that you need with your degree and major. I know most of you, especially seniors, you've been here 4, 5, 6 years. All you've thought about is a degree and major, but you want to think about the skills that you bring with that degree and major and be able to verbalize that. We do mock interviews in the office, which I thoroughly enjoy myself. I do buku throughout the year, and it gives me a chance to see what kind of students are on campus. It gives me a chance to see what you have done, what your aspirations are, what your goals are. It gives me a chance to see, nobody hires paper, they hire people. So I'll have your resume maybe for 2-3 weeks in advance so I can develop a mindset about what's fixing to come in my office or my room. Then we start talking to find out why. It's amazing that, simple questions. Why did you come to Georgia? Why did you pick your major? Does a 3.2 properly reflect your academic capability? What 2 classes prepared you for the internship? Why don't you have an internship? Why did you choose to study abroad in Austria or whatever the case may be? Where have you traveled? What kind of foreign languages do you have? I had a gentleman come in to see me probably 6 or 7 years ago. He'd grown up in 6 or 7 countries and spoke 13 languages. Excellent. A young man came to work with me 2 years ago, went to work with Merck, which is the second largest pharmaceutical company in America. He had a 3.25 GPA, was a finance major, marketing concentration. He wrote and spoke fluently 5 languages. If you don't know, if you plan to stay in Georgia, Georgia has the 4th fastest growing Hispanic population in the country. So if you have the opportunity, if not to take a class in Spanish, but to go, pick up those Berlitz tapes or something like that, learn Spanish that way. Today, if you're taking notes, you might want to write this down. The big term for y'all young people is lifelong learning. You know that. You're always going to be taking classes online, long-distance learning. It's not uncommon when you go to interview, they may say, let's say someone here today is proficient in Spanish. And so they say, would you consider going to Georgia State on our nickel on Saturdays from 8 to 12 for 15 weeks to learn Portuguese, to go with your Spanish, to relocate to Miami? And you're thinking, do I want to give up 15 weeks during the fall, during football season, to learn Portuguese, to move to Miami? Okay? 91% of college graduates, when they graduate, remain within 50 miles of their hometown or 50 miles of the school they graduate from. So if you can relocate, that's a massive plus for you also and stuff you say. One of the questions I really enjoy asking towards the end of my mock interviews is, how have you grown as a young man or woman in college? Who are you today that you weren't when you left high school at the age of 18? Because employers are hiring you on potential for future development, okay? We said earlier that most of you are not going to stay with that employer 1 year, okay? Employers know that. So they're working harder and harder to make the work site a better place for you to want to stay, type of thing. What I tell my students in my class is, you're really looking for something about a year, year and a half out. Then you can kind of sit back and ask yourself, do I like what I'm doing? Do I not like what I'm doing? Is now the time to go back to graduate school? Is now the time to get completely out of this industry and go to another industry, type of thing? They say today, young people such as you will have 2 to 3 careers in 8 to 11 jobs. I've been in higher education 34 years. You ain't going to do what I do. Okay? So like I said, you want to be finding out what's out there, and so you can develop and grow that way. And it's okay to have many jobs. It's not just staying with the same company for 8, 10, 12 years and that type of thing. When I was in school, a common question was, where do you see yourself in 20 years? Because you were supposed to stay there forever. Now today they ask you, where do you see yourself in 2 or 3 years? So all y'all need to have a little bit of a vision about where you plan to be after you graduate. It does not have to be set in stone, but you want to have a little bit of a vision about, well, I hope I'm doing this, I'm in grad school at night, or whatever the circumstance can be, possibly. Okay. Student employment. Some of you might need a part-time job or some type of job within the Athens community. We have a lady that takes care of that all the time. And then if you turn to the other panels on the inside, the career seminars, we started a Careers In panel seminar about 6 or 7 years ago. We change them up every semester. And this spring, as you can see on the right-hand side, we have quite a variety. We have a Careers in Forestry and Natural Resources. I think some of you might be ag majors or plant science majors, whatever. Nonprofits has really become very popular among a lot of young students today in America, and we have a seminar coming up with nonprofits. Federal government, again, point of information, My generation is fixing to retire. You've probably seen some of those kind of articles in the paper and that type of thing. My generation was the largest generation in American history. There were 74 million of us, okay? The generation is coming after me. There are 19 million less of them. So there are going to be buku jobs out there for all y'all, okay? It's just a matter of being prepared to compete against everyone to get one of those jobs type of thing, you see. And it's not just GPA, okay? We'll say more about that later. But the government's going to be hiring 200,000 or 300,000 people in the next 5-7 years. So government might be an option for some of you. When you start a job search, and I apologize for just hopping around here, but when you start a job search, you want to look at everything at the same time. Government, nonprofit, private sector, whatever you're about, you want to look at everything at the same time, because if you start in a small way and start doing this, all these employers are filling positions while you're doing this. You want to start here and come this way, okay? In the class I teach, we spend a couple periods talking about what I call values clarification. So all y'all should be making a list of what you're looking for in an employer, because you're interviewing them as much as I'm interviewing you. So a list could be salary, could be location, could be the type of work. Do you want to commute? Do you not want to commute? Do you want to be close to Athens to work on a master's later? Do you want to be in the city of Atlanta? Do you want to be close to the water, so you want to go to Savannah or St. Simons? Do you want to be in the mountains? Do you want to relocate out west? Do you not want to work with older people like me? Do you want to work with younger people like you? What kind of advancement is there? Do they have a tuition reimbursement program to go back and get a master's? What kind of training program do they have? So all those are questions you want to know that you're looking for when you interview them, so when they make you an offer, if it's not what you're looking for, you can turn it down very easily. Okay. We have a top dog program getting connected to Clark County with nonprofit and volunteer work and that type of thing. Some of you might be in sales, so we're going to have a panel on sales, one in logistics, STEM is science, teaching, engineering, and math. We have a top dog on women in leadership panel, which ought to be very, very good. Some of these might draw 50 people. I had one in sports last semester. I had close to 300 people. So, again, it's all what you're about. And today, for most young, a lot of young people, entrepreneurship is a biggie. Some of you may be thinking of starting your own company in 2, 3, 4 years out. So you can come to that particular panel and get some ideas about laws and small business administration and policies and codes and things like that that you have to follow. On the left-hand panel, I've got the career fairs listed for spring semester. We have our first big one coming up on the 30th. This morning we were told we have 187 employers that will be there. We'll probably have close to 200. How many of you have been to a career fair before? Good. Okay. Pretty big meat market, right? Can be kind of intimidating at times, right? Okay. So basically, for those of you that haven't been, now, how many juniors are in here today? How many of you have been to a career fair? Not as many. Okay. So juniors, you should want to go to look for internship opportunities. Usually the companies that have an internship opportunity have either a red or black balloon hanging up in the air and stuff like that. So basically, just kind of help you all out. Coat and tie, heels and dress or pantsuit for ladies. You'll register downtown at the Classic Center. You'll have a handful of resumes, okay? Walk in the door. You'll see, like I said, 200 tables, booths, all kinds of deals, that kind of thing, okay? Take a deep breath and say, I can do this, all right? And all you have to do is walk up to a table, say, my name is, I'm a speech comm major. What career opportunities do you have for me? Pretty simple. Then you go to the next table. All of a sudden, after you're talking to 8 or 9 people, you're saying, I can do this, okay? What's fun for me as an older person, I'll stand by the door, and I'll watch someone walk in the room, and you'll freeze for 5 minutes. Then you'll spend a half hour looking for a friend. Then you'll finally find that friend, and he hasn't talked to anybody. So then you go talk to someone. Let's say none of you are accounting, so you walk up to an accounting firm, and you say, plant science major, do you have a job for me? And they say, no, we're looking for a candidate. Say, I'm out of here. And you walk out the door and stuff. So give yourself a chance, all right? After the career fair, you always want to get as many business cards as you can. It's very important that you write some kind of thank you letter that night. Now, here's where the generational difference comes in. I'm old school. I would prefer myself a typed 3-sentence letter that I can open up at home. I'm just an old fuddy-duddy, okay? Today you can email, you can fax, so that's all right, but the key is to get it out immediately, okay, to follow up. Your job search is a process. You start your job search for a position, a career position, 1 year before you graduate, your senior year. So juniors, you know what to be doing next year. Sophomores, you know what to be doing next year, okay? All of you have been on an academic schedule. You start in August, you end in May. Maybe you do semester, maybe you do summer school, but everything's structured. Companies hire year-round all the time, so you have to get used to that. You're worried when you start the interview process because it's your last semester, you graduate in May, you've had this routine down for 20-some years. Now you don't know what's going to happen in May or June, so you have to kind of get geared up for that type of thing, you see. Also, kind of talk about interviewing real quick. Interviewing is not just answering questions. It's not being worried about having the right answer. It's you knowing you in presenting yourself to them. Very important, okay? Because, again, without knowing most of you, or any of you, basically you're thinking at an interview, I graduate in May, I need a job, I hope I have the right answer to the question, I hope I get along with the person interviewing me, and that's not what interviewing is all about, okay? You're thinking short term, I got out of here in May. I'm thinking long term. So I may have had your resume for a month. I'm looking forward to meeting you tomorrow at 10 o'clock if I have an interview at that time. You're getting out of here in May. I've got you penciled in January '09. So again, I'm looking at how you present yourself, okay? Also, we mentioned the team concept earlier. So I've got a team I've already established. I've got 2 from LSU and 1 from Ole Miss and 1 from State and 1 from Auburn. I'm in Georgia for the first time, seeing for the first time ever Georgia people. You present yourself well. Your resumes look good. You got a 3.7. You speak 4 languages. You've got an internship. You studied abroad. You're president of a couple of different clubs and organizations. You've done volunteer work. And I got to figure out, can you work with the people I've got? Okay? And if you can't, I'm not going to offer you a job. And again, I think it's common sense. Once you have one interview, you're better prepared for the second, then the 5th, then the 7th, okay? And most of you, raise your hand if you feel comfortable. How many of you have interviewed before for a job in high school and you got it pretty much on the spot or were called back the next day? Okay. So your mindset is interview's no big deal. I've always gotten the job. I'm a senior. I got a good-looking resume. I'll have 5 interviews, 3 offers. It'll take a month. It's not going to happen that way. It won't be that easy. Then you start getting the rejection letters. That's when you start calling me. And you will say, there's something wrong with my resume because I'm not getting jobs. Then we might do a mock interview and find out that you're looking over here, you don't have any good answers, you're looking up in the sky or whatever the case may be. And it's not all about GPA either. So yeah, everyone doesn't have to have a 3.9 or a 3.7. You could have a 2.6 or whatever and still have great classes and volunteer work and that type of thing. So always be thinking positively about what you're doing there. Anybody in J school? Nobody's in J school? Okay. Grady is what they call it these days. Okay. Government nonprofit, again, a big fair there. We've got, as of this morning, we had, I think, 81 government nonprofit agencies coming to that. I work with education majors, so right now I've got about 75 school systems coming to my teacher recruitment day. The South Campus Day, I think we've got 41 coming to that right now. Summer employment, that's for obviously summers, and then the Alumni Career Fair in Atlanta. So how many of you are on DogLink? Okay, that's how everything gets started. If you were on Dog Track before, I think you need to redo DogLink. So in the middle of the brochure, you've got the information. You can do it from your home computer, SLC, whatever. That's the key to everything in Clark Howell. And once you're on there, you can look at part-time jobs and sign up for interviews, and you can have your resume sent to different employers, and employers can download your resume and all that kind of good stuff. So basically my message is, if you haven't used us in Clark Howell, please do so. If you're shy about coming in personally, you can email, phone, of course. You can come in as many times as you want to. Any kind of questions you want to ask. Like I said, the thing I enjoy is the mock interviews because I get to know people better and really know how you're presenting yourself, because that's what the key is, presenting yourself very much. Are there any questions that you might have that I didn't address today, or I made things worse than when we came in, or Anything like that? I thank you for your time and attention. Thank you.